I want to tell you about the moment everything changed for a family I had known for years. I'm talking about a Sunday afternoon, sitting at their dining room table, watching a husband open his Bible to a single verse, one verse, and say out loud, "Why has nobody ever shown me this before?" He and his wife have been faithful churchgoers for over a decade. They returned their tithe every single week without fail. They prayed over their finances. They gave to every special offering, and they were still drowning in $41,000 of consumer debt with nothing in savings and a marriage that was quietly coming apart at the seams because of the financial pressure. That one verse, and I mean what I'm about to say with everything in me, that one verse changed the entire trajectory of their family. Within 3 years, they were completely debt-free. Not because they got lucky, not because their income doubled, because they finally understood what God had been trying to tell them all along. But to understand why that changes everything, we need to go back to the beginning, because there's a reason most believers never see it, and that reason is going to surprise you. What I'm going to share with you in this video is the most important financial truth in all of Scripture. Not my opinion, not a denomination's opinion. A principle so ancient, so tested, and so reliable that every family I've ever seen apply it, every single one, has experienced a financial turnaround that cannot be explained by math alone. We're going to look at exactly what it says, what it actually means, and the 3 practical steps that turn from a verse on a page into a life that is genuinely, sustainably free. If you've never been to this channel before, welcome. I'm so glad you found us today. Biblical prosperity now exists for one reason: to give you the full biblical blueprint for financial freedom that most people never receive in church. Hit that subscribe button right now so you don't miss a single video. Let's get into this. Here's what I want you to picture. A couple, let's call them Greg and Melissa, sitting in the 3rd pew from the front of their church every Sunday morning. Greg serves on the deacon board. Melissa leads the women's Bible study. They return their tithe faithfully. They show up early to set up chairs and stay late to stack them back. From the outside, they look like exactly the kind of family God should be blessing. And yet, behind closed doors, they're fighting about money almost every week. The credit cards are maxed. The car payments are strangling them. There's a medical bill from 2 years ago still sitting on the kitchen counter because they don't know what to do with it. And most painful part, they genuinely don't understand why. They feel like they're doing everything right. They're giving, they're praying, they're trusting God. So what is going on? I have sat across from more families like Greg and Melissa than I can count. And what I've come to understand through years of pastoral counseling and studying what Scripture actually says about money is that most American Christians have been handed half a map. Just half. The giving half. The church, by and large, has done a fairly good job of teaching people to return the tithe and give generously. And that matters enormously. I will never downplay that. But the other half of God's financial blueprint, the wisdom half, the stewardship half, the part that tells you what to do with the 90% after you've honored God with the first 10, that part has been largely missing from our pulpits for a long time. And the silence is costing families everything. Think about what we actually teach about money in most evangelical churches. We talk about tithing. We talk about generosity. We talk about trusting God to provide, all of which is true and necessary. But when was the last time you heard a sermon series on budgeting as an act of worship? When did your pastor walk you through what Proverbs actually says about debt? When did anyone at your church sit down with you and show you that financial discipline is not a secular concept? It is a deeply, thoroughly biblical one. For most people, the honest answer is never. And so believers go home faithful in their giving, but completely untrained in the stewardship that has to go alongside it. And the enemy loves this gap. He doesn't need you to stop tithing. He doesn't need you to stop going to church. He just needs you to stay untrained in the practical wisdom God gave you for managing the rest of your money. Because an untrained believer with good intentions and no financial plan is going to stay stuck no matter how faithfully they give. I've seen it happen too many times. Good people, generous people, sincere people, stuck. Not because God failed them, not because their faith wasn't real, but because nobody handed them the whole map. Here's what makes this so urgent. The average American household is carrying somewhere between $15,000 and $20,000 in consumer debt. Stress about money is consistently ranked as one of the top causes of divorce in this country. And studies show that financial anxiety affects people's physical health, their mental health, their ability to be present as parents, and this one hits me every time, their willingness to give generously because they feel like they have nothing left to give. The financial pressure that comes from living without a biblical wisdom framework doesn't just hurt your bank account. It slowly squeezes the life out of everything you care about most. God did not design you to live like that. The same Bible that calls you to return the tithe also calls you to be a wise steward, to plan with diligence, to avoid the bondage of debt, to build with patience and intention. Those are not optional extras for people who have it together. They are non-negotiable foundations that every believer needs. And they are exactly what we're going to unpack together starting right now. I want to take you to Proverbs chapter 3, verses 9 and 10. Now, if you've spent any time in a tithing sermon, you've probably heard verse 9. Honor the Lord with your wealth and with the first fruits of all your produce. That's the verse that usually gets quoted when the offering plate is being passed, and it is a powerful foundational verse. Returning the tithe, giving God the first fruits before you do anything else with your money, is not optional. It is the starting line of biblical financial obedience. I want to be absolutely clear about that before we go any further. But here's what most people never notice. Verse 9 is only half the sentence. The full thought doesn't end until verse 10. Then your barns will be filled with plenty, and your vats will be bursting with wine. That's a promise, not a maybe, not a possibility, a covenant promise from God. When you honor Him first with what He's given you, He will supply the increase. That is God putting His name on it. So here's the question I sat with for a long time as a young pastor. What exactly is happening in that exchange? Because it can't just be a transaction, give 10%, get more back. That a vending machine theology that doesn't line up with the full character of God or the full teaching of Scripture. So what is God actually communicating in these two verses? What's the principle underneath the promise? Here's what I believe with everything in me after years of studying this passage and watching it play out in real families' lives. When God says, honor the Lord with your wealth, He is not just asking for a percentage. He is calling for a posture. He is asking you to orient your entire financial life around Him. To acknowledge, with real money in real time, that He is first, that His kingdom matters more than your comfort, that you trust His provision more than you trust your own ability to hold onto what you have. Returning the tithe is the visible, tangible declaration of that posture. It's your wallet saying what your mouth says on Sunday morning, that God comes first. And here's the part that changes everything. That posture, God first, trust over fear, kingdom over comfort, is not supposed to stop at the tithe. The same heart that returns the first fruits faithfully should be managing every remaining dollar with that same reverence and intentionality. Because the verse says, honor the Lord with your wealth, not honor the Lord with 10% of your wealth. The whole thing belongs to Him. We are stewards, not owners. And a steward who honors God with the first 10%, but then spends the other 90% without wisdom, without a plan, and without any sense of accountability. That steward has honored God with his giving hand and ignored Him with every other decision. Now, I want to be careful here. because this is where people can get confused. I'm not saying that the tithe is just symbolic. It is not. It is a real, obedient act of faith that carries real spiritual weight. Malachi chapter 3 makes that clear. God specifically promises to rebuke the devourer on behalf of those who return the tithe faithfully. That protection is real. I have watched it operate in families' finances in ways that no spreadsheet could account for. The tithe is not negotiable, and it is not just symbolic. It is foundational. What I am saying is this: Proverbs 3:9 and 10 is a whole life financial principle. It starts with giving God the first fruits, and it extends into wise, intentional, God-honoring stewardship of everything that remains. The promise in verse 10 is attached to the posture in verse 9, and that posture has to govern the whole of your financial life, not just the giving portion of it. The families who understand that, who tithe faithfully and steward wisely, those are the families who actually live in the fullness of that promise. I want to talk about Solomon for a few minutes, because if you're going to understand Proverbs, really understand it, you need to understand the man who wrote it. Solomon was the wealthiest person in the ancient world. His annual income in gold alone was somewhere in the neighborhood of 25 tons. He had vast real estate, trading fleets, vineyards, building projects that would rival anything we can construct today. By any measure of earthly prosperity, Solomon had it all. And here's what's remarkable: God gave it to him. Not because Solomon went after wealth, because Solomon went after something else entirely. You remember the story. God appeared to Solomon early in his reign and said, "Ask for whatever you want me to give you." And Solomon, this young king who could have asked for anything in the universe, asked for wisdom. He asked for an understanding heart to govern God's people and to discern between good and evil. And God was so moved by that request that he gave Solomon wisdom beyond any human being before or after him, and then gave him everything else on top of it: the riches, the honor, the long life. Everything. Because Solomon got the order right. That is not an accident. That is a pattern God woven into the very fabric of how his kingdom operates. Matthew 6:33 says the same thing in the New Testament. Seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you. Same principle, same order. Wisdom and righteousness first. Provision follows. It does not work the other way around. And I've watched enough families try to reverse that order to know it doesn't work the other way around. So here is what I call Solomon's principle, and it is the backbone of everything Proverbs teaches about money. True financial freedom is not fundamentally a math problem. It is a wisdom problem, and genuine wisdom, the kind that produces lasting results, always begins with the fear of the Lord. Proverbs 9:10. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Not the middle, not a component. The beginning, the foundation, the thing without which nothing else holds up. What does the fear of the Lord have to do with your household budget? Everything. When you genuinely fear God, when you live with a real, daily awareness that he sees every financial decision you make, that you will give an account for how you steward what he gave you, that his ways are higher and wiser than your feelings and your impulses, that awareness changes how you spend. It changes how you borrow. It changes how you plan. It becomes the lens through which every financial choice gets filtered. The families I have watched get and stay financially free are not all high earners. Some of them make modest incomes. What they share is not a high salary. What they share is this: they treat their financial life as a spiritual matter. They bring God into their budget meetings. They pray before major purchases. They ask not just, can we afford this, but is this wise? Is this honoring to God? Is this going to serve our family's future or undermine it? That is Solomon's principle in daily life. And it works every single time because it aligns with how God designed financial stewardship to function. Now here's the other side of this that I want you to hear. Solomon wrote Proverbs not for kings and theologians. He wrote it for ordinary people, for the young person just starting out, for the family trying to figure out how to make ends meet, for anyone who wants to understand how to live wisely in a world full of foolish financial choices. The wisdom in Proverbs is not theoretical. It is intensely practical. And the practical financial principles of Proverbs, the ones we're about to look at together, are not optional enhancements for people who already have their act together. They're the non-negotiable foundation that makes financial stability possible for anyone who applies them, regardless of income level, background, or past mistakes. All right, let's get practical. Everything we have talked about so far, the full principle of Proverbs 3, the wisdom foundation Solomon laid out, it all has to land somewhere real. It has to become something you can actually do starting this week. So I want to walk you through 3 biblical steps. These are not tips I came up with. They are not a financial guru's framework with a Bible verse stapled on top. These are steps drawn directly from the wisdom literature of Scripture, validated by 20 years of watching real families walk them out, and they work every single time. Not because they are clever, but because they are true. They align with how God designed money to function in a human life. Step 1, return your tithe first. Before anything else, I know some of you just shifted in your chair. Maybe you've been meaning to start tithing, but the money always feels too tight. Maybe you tithe occasionally when there's a little extra. Maybe you give something, but not the full 10% because the math feels impossible. I understand. I sat with a woman once, single mom, 3 kids, working 2 jobs, who told me she could not afford a tithe. And I told her as gently as I knew how, you cannot afford not to, because Proverbs 3:9 is not asking you to give out a surplus. It is asking you to give out of faith. First fruits means the first portion before you know how the rest will work out. That is the whole point. Here is what I have seen happen over and over again in the lives of families who start returning their tithe faithfully for the first time. Something shifts. I cannot fully explain it in financial terms. God rebukes the devourer. Unexpected expenses stop multiplying the way they used to. Money starts going further than the numbers suggest it should. It is not magic. It is covenant. God said he would do it, and he does not lie. But here's the part people miss. You have to actually do it. You have to write that check or set up that auto transfer before you pay the electric bill and before you pay the car note. Not after. First. If you're not returning your tithe right now, this is the most important thing I will say to you in this entire video. Start there. That is not step 1 because it is the easiest. It is step 1 because it is the foundation. Nothing else works right without it. Step 2. Build a written plan for every dollar. Proverbs 21 verse 5 says this, "The plans of the diligent lead surely to abundance, but everyone who is hasty comes only to poverty." Read it again slowly. The plans of the diligent, not the prayers of the diligent, not the intentions of the diligent. The plans, written, specific, thought through, intentional plans. God honors diligence. God honors preparation. And a budget, I know the word makes some people want to turn the video off, but stay with me. A written budget is not a cage. It is a map. It is you telling your money where to go before it decides for itself. And trust me when I tell you, if you do not tell your money where to go, it will go somewhere. It will go to the drive-thru and the subscription service and the impulse buy and the thing you cannot even remember by the end of the month. Money without a plan is money without a shepherd. Here is how I teach this to couples and families. Before the first of the month, or right now if the month has already started, sit down and write out every expected dollar of income and every expected dollar of expense. Every one, rent or mortgage, utilities, groceries, car payment, insurance, tithe, savings, everything, and make them add up to zero. Every dollar has an assignment. That is called a zero-based budget, and it is one of the most powerful practical tools for financial freedom that exists, and it lines up perfectly with the biblical principle of stewardship. The families I know who are winning financially are not all high earners. Some of them make very modest incomes, but they have a plan. They know where every dollar goes, and because they know, they can make choices. Without a plan, you're just reacting. With a plan, you're stewarding. And stewardship is what God called us to in Genesis, and what Solomon reinforced in Proverbs, and what every financially free family I have ever known has practiced as a discipline. Step 3. Attack debt with fierce intention. Proverbs 22, verse 7. This is one of the most sobering verses in the entire Bible when it comes to money. The rich rules over the poor, and the borrower is the slave of the lender. That is not a suggestion. That is a spiritual and financial reality. Every dollar you owe someone is a dollar that is not free. Every payment you make to a credit card company is a payment that could have gone to your family, your savings, your future, your giving. Debt is not neutral. Debt is a yoke, and God never designed you to carry it indefinitely. Now, I'm not saying all debt is sin. I am saying debt is a weight, and God-given wisdom says to get out from under it as fast as you can with as much intentionality as you can. List every debt you owe, smallest to largest. Pay minimums on everything except the smallest one, and throw every extra dollar you can find at that one until it is gone. Then roll that payment to the next one. This is not a new idea. This is diligence applied to debt, and it works. I have watched it work in family after family after family. Here is what I want you to hear underneath all 3 of these steps. They are not 3 separate strategies. They are one integrated posture. Return first to God. Plan wisely with the rest. Eliminate the chains that bind your future. That is biblical stewardship in its fullest expression. That is Proverbs 3:9 and 10 lived out from Monday morning to Saturday night. And the families who practice all 3, not just one, not just 2, but all 3 together, those are the families that experience the promise of verse 10. The barns filled with plenty, the vats bursting, not because they found a loophole, because they honor God with their whole financial life. I want to tell you about a man named Derek. Derek was one of those people who walked into a room and immediately made everyone feel at ease. Big laugh, genuine warmth, the kind of guy who remembers everybody's name. He and his wife Tamara had been married about 9 years when they first came to me. They were not in a crisis, not the kind that shows on the outside, anyway. They were faithful members of their church. They returned their tithe every single week without fail. They served on committees. Their kids were in Sunday school. From the outside, they looked like a family that had it together. But behind closed doors, they were drowning. $43,000 in consumer debt spread across 7 credit cards, 2 car payments, a mortgage they had stretched to get into. And the worst part, the thing Tamara told me with her eyes fixed on the floor, was that they had no idea how they had gotten there. It had happened so gradually. A little here, a little there. A vacation they told themselves they deserved. A medical bill they put on plastic because cash was short. A few years of buying the kids Christmas on credit and promising themselves they would pay it down by spring. And spring kept arriving without the payoff. And here's the thing about Derek that stayed with me. He knew the giving side of the equation cold. He had been returning his tithe faithfully for years, and he genuinely believed it, genuinely honored God with it. But he had never been handed the other half of the map. Nobody had ever put Proverbs 21:5 and Proverbs 22:7 in front of him alongside the tithing verses and said, "Son, the same God who asked for your first fruits also expects you to plan and to avoid the bondage of debt." That gap between faithful giving and faithful stewardship was costing them everything. And the night he finally understood it, he sat at my kitchen table with tears running down his face and said, "Marcus, why did nobody ever teach me this?" I did not have a good answer for him that night, but I had a plan. We sat together for about 2 hours that first evening. We went through every account, every balance, every monthly payment, and I walked them through all 3 of the steps I just shared with you. They were already on step 1. They just needed to understand that step 1 was not enough on its own. We built their first ever written budget that night, right there at my table. And I showed Derek the debt snowball, the same principle I walked you through a few minutes ago. And I watched something happen in his face when he saw on paper for the first time that if they stayed disciplined, they could be completely debt-free in under 4 years. I will never forget what he said. He looked at Tamara, and then he looked at me, and he said, "Marcus, this is doable." And it was. And they did it. Not in 4 years. They did it in 34 months. They found extra income. Tamara picked up part-time work for a season. They sold 2 things they did not need. They stopped eating out, and they stopped pretending that impulse spending was just part of life. And every single month, they stuck to the plan. They kept returning their tithe through all of it, never wavered on that, not once. And month by month, the balances dropped. The day Derek called me to tell me they had paid off the last card, I was driving on the highway, and I had to pull over. Not because I was surprised, because I was grateful. Because I had watched this family do the hard, unglamorous, nobody's posting this on Instagram work of real biblical stewardship, and it had set them free. That is not a prosperity gospel story where God dropped money from the sky. That is a Proverbs story, a wisdom story, a family who finally had the whole map and then walked it out one faithful step at a time. That is what this looks like in real life. And it is available to every single person watching this video right now. Before I close out today, I need to give you a warning. Because in my experience, this is the place where a lot of people hear good teaching, get genuinely inspired, and then fall into one of 2 ditches on the way home. And I love you too much not to point them out. The first ditch is what I call faith without feet. This is where someone hears the promise in Proverbs 3:10. Barns filled with plenty, vats bursting with wine, and they claim it with everything they've got, but they never do the work. They return the tithe faithfully. They pray over their finances sincerely, and they do absolutely nothing about the budget or the debt. They're waiting for God to supernaturally rearrange their bank account while He's waiting for them to pick up the practical tools He already gave them in His Word. Faith and works are partners, not competitors. James chapter 2 says faith without works is dead. That applies to your finances as much as it applies to anything else. God honors the tithe. God also honors diligence. You need both. The second ditch is the opposite one, and I see it just as often. This is where someone gets fired up about the practical steps, the budget, the debt snowball, the financial plan, and they go at it with everything they have. Full intensity, full discipline, real results. But in the process, they quietly start adrift. The tithe gets paused because they want every dollar going to debt. Prayer over finances starts to feel unnecessary because the spreadsheet is working. And slowly, almost without noticing it, they've shifted from a faith-based financial overhaul to a self-improvement project with a Bible verse on the cover. The results may look similar in the short term, but the foundation has changed. And foundations matter, especially when the storms come. Here is the truth that holds both of those warnings together. Proverbs 3:9 and 10 is not a verse about giving or a verse about planning. It is a verse about your whole relationship with God expressed through your whole financial life. The giving and the wisdom and the discipline and the trust, all of it together, all the time for the long haul. You cannot take half the principle and expect the full promise. I have watched families get out of debt and quietly become harder and more closed-fisted than they were when they were struggling, because they did the practical work without maintaining the spiritual posture. And I have watched genuinely faithful givers stay financially stuck for decades because they honored God on Sunday and ignored His wisdom Monday through Saturday. Neither one is the full life God is offering you here. The families that find real, lasting, generational financial freedom are the ones who refuse to let go of either side, who keep God first with their giving, keep God first with their planning, and keep walking forward in both faith and wisdom every single day. Don't leave today and take half the map. Take the whole thing. We have covered a lot of ground today, and I want to bring it all the way home. Proverbs 3, verses 9 and 10. Honor the Lord with your wealth and with the first fruits of all your produce. Then your barns will be filled with plenty. That is a promise from God, not a theory, not a motivational concept, a promise. And it is available to you right now, at whatever income level you're at, whatever debt load you're carrying, whatever financial mistakes are in your rearview mirror. This promise is for you, but the promise comes attached to a posture. Honor the Lord with your wealth, all of it, the giving and the planning and the stewardship and the discipline, the tithe and the budget and the debt payoff and the savings and the wise decisions made one quiet Tuesday at a time when nobody's watching. That is what honoring God with your wealth actually looks like lived out, and it is available to every single person watching this video. So here's what I want you to do today. Right now, before this video ends, I want you to make one decision. Just one. If you're not returning your tithe, commit today to start. This week, not someday, this week. If you've never built a written budget, open a notebook tonight or pull up a spreadsheet and start. Write down your income. Write down your expenses. Give every dollar an assignment. If you have debt, write down every balance you owe, smallest to largest, and decide today that you're going to start attacking it with focused, faithful, God-honoring intensity. You don't have to do all three perfectly today, but you have to start somewhere. And the somewhere God calls you to start is always the same place. Put Him first. I want to ask you to do 3 more things before you go. First, leave a comment below and tell me which of these 3 steps you're committing to starting this week. I read every comment on this channel, and I genuinely pray for the people who leave them. Your name may be when I lift up this week. Second, share this video with one family you know who needs to hear it. You might be the person God uses to hand them the other half of the map they've been missing. That's not a small thing. That could change the entire financial future of the family you love. And third, if you haven't subscribed to Biblical Prosperity Now yet, please do that right now. Hit subscribe and ring the notification bell so you never miss a video. This community is built for people who are serious about honoring God with every dollar. And we have so much more to cover together. I'll see you in the next one.